about fast food in general or about McDonald's in particular, there is a lot of power in brand, and consumers have a lot of willingness to put their faith and their confidence and their dollars behind a brand, so that when they're coming to town, much more likely to stop in at a fast food restaurant that they recognize it than the local diner or something that they don't know at all. Just a little bit about what's going on in McDonald's. January was the 47th consecutive month of comp sales increase, so it means we did better this month than the same month a year ago, and we've been doing that now for 47 consecutive. So if we do that in February for 4 consecutive years, so the business has really turned around right there in the after 2001 and the depression, not depression, but the recession happened with that. Since then, we've been on a really nice ride. And within Central New York, we have 55% market share of fast food dollars. So every dollar that's spent in a fast food restaurant, McDonald's is getting 55 cents out of that. And if you look at breakfast within fast food is over 70%. So that's real market domination when you can have those kind of numbers. So people do put a lot of confidence in that brand. Second advantage is buying power. Now the China Star, if they do a good business this month, I don't know how much they buy, but let's say that they need, they go through 100 pounds of chicken in a week. And so they go to the market and they say, I'm going to buy 100 pounds, what are you going to do for me? And chicken's usually $2.19, and so they say, hey, we'll sell it to you for $2.04. McDonald's goes to that same market and says, I need 500,000 pounds of chicken this week. So you can imagine the supplier is a whole lot more willing to bargain and to bring that price down. It's just a matter of scale. But then you multiply that times everything. So not only chicken, but eggs and ranch dressing and strawberries and whatever, and not only food products. Heating and ventilation systems and insurance and chairs and everything else that we buy. We just have a buying power that just gives us a tremendous competitive edge in the market in order to bring down prices. And so we can compete then on a scale that other people can't, because we don't have to pay as much for the raw product that we're either putting in our restaurant or selling to our customers. Credit cards is an example of that I think was kind of interesting. For years, the conventional wisdom on credit cards was that it could never happen in fast food because our margins are too small. You know what margins are? How much falls to the bottom line? Typically, a credit card transaction, the merchant pays in for whatever you charge there, and they'll pay someplace around 4 or 5%. Well, margins in fast food tend to be around 7 to 10%, so you'd be given half of your profit on any transaction to the credit card company. So it could never happen. So McDonald's went to the credit card companies and said, we can't give you 4 or 5%, but what we can give you is a ton of transactions. I mean, we can make sure that you're going to do a lot of business with our company, and so they negotiate it out. So now, do you guys use credit cards in your local McDonald's? Most places now have them. And the cost has been brought down so that the combination of credit and debit together, we're paying about 1%, about 1.2. So it made it so that that's possible to provide that convenience to our customer because of the buying power we have. Third benefit is training and service. How am I doing on time? Obviously, our training of our managers and things like that, McDonald's will do that in order to teach them everything from how to put a shake machine together to how to manage the restaurant. And then there's a lot of other services that, as a small business owner, I would never be able to afford, but that I can take advantage of because of the franchise. couple examples, human resources consulting. I recently had a situation where I had a guy went to the reserves and was on reserve duty for a while, and then my deal with reserves is that we credit them for their time when they're in the service, and then when they come back, they didn't, let's say they were gone for 6 months, that 6 months still counts for them towards their seniority and vacations and all that kind of thing. This particular gentleman went and did that 6 months and then went to work for another company for about 8 months and then came back and got his job back with me and wanted the credit for the entire time that he was away. And I said, I'll credit you for the time you were in a service, but not the time that you worked for another employer. So he threatened, you know, he's going to sue and all that kind of stuff. So I called up the HR department and said, what do I do? You know, I'm not really sure on this. And I was right. So another thing is market research. I mentioned that I don't have the option of selling pizza. People will constantly come up and say, you ought to sell pizza, or you ought to sell French toast sticks, or you ought to sell whatever. And like I said, I don't have that option, but there is a research and development department, and there's market research that's going on that's looking into things like that all the time. Anybody from Rochester? So in Rochester, I don't know if you remember, they had pizza in those restaurants for a while, and that was a test market. So we developed a pizza that was good, and they said in blind taste test it would match up against personal pan pizza, and it was being sold through McDonald's, and they chose Rochester as a place to test it. And as far as taste, it was good and everything, but turned out people just don't want to go to a hamburger place to get their pizza. You know, we just sort of have that identification with the local pizza place, even if that's a franchise, but you don't want to go to some place where you're eating French fries and eat pizza there too. So, so it never got off the ground. It just said that we really can't sell enough of those in order to do it profitably. Real estate, McDonald's comes in, they do market studies, they count transactions, how many people drive past a certain corner, how many churches are in the area, how many schools, you know, how many people within the demographic that we're aiming for live within a certain area, and does it make sense in order to build our McDonald's on that corner. Again, that's something as a small businessman I would never be able to tap into those kind of resources. The joke in McDonald's is that Burger King didn't have a real estate department. They just wait till we built someplace and then they build next door. But I don't know if that's really true. The last thing is we have a construction department, and recently that really benefited us, is that we remodeled one of our restaurants, and as part of the remodel we were making it handicap accessible. And our front door was too narrow in order to make the turn for a chair to go through the door and then through the second door. And so the contractor said, well, we're going to blow out the front of the restaurant. We'll have to extend the roof out in order to have enough room there in order to move a chair through. So I said, okay, I don't know construction. My construction department came down and they looked at it, you know, and they said, you know what, if we were to blow into the restaurant instead of out, we wouldn't have to do anything with the roof or the support or anything, and you have enough room in there. It probably saved me about $10,000 just on that one suggestion alone. So it's nice to be able to get that. Finally, advertising. I don't need to say a whole lot about that. Obviously, I can't buy television advertising for two little restaurants in the southern tier, but I can take advantage of the advertising that we do. So let me transition to talking about marketplace ministry. Like I said, my hope is that you will look at your career in business